Hello everyone, Alan Sens here, and welcome to this segment on Arms Control Challenges, North Korea, Part 1. In this segment, we're going to look at the character and nature of the North Korean nuclear weapons program, and we are going to look at its evolution and development. So let's get started. So, by the time we're done, you should be familiar with the development and the diplomatic history of the North Korean nuclear program. All right, let's just start with a little bit of geographic and geopolitical orientation. So obviously here's North Korea here, and you can see just by looking at this that North Korea, from purely a political standpoint, is not exactly in a favorable geopolitical position. North Korea is right beside, obviously, South Korea, a major United States ally, and of course Japan is right here, another major U.S. ally. And so there's obvious insecurities there. North Korea's big ally is China, but there's a lot of debate about exactly how supportive China is of North Korea. I don't think there's any question China has some leverage, but I think that leverage is often overstated. It might be better to say that China has an interest in North Korean independence and an interest in North Korean survival because it presents an important buffer between China and South Korea, a U.S. ally. But I don't think it's accurate to say that North Korea does whatever China wants, and it's quite clear that the North Korean leadership has done many things that have frustrated and alienated the Chinese leadership. So it's an awkward geopolitical position, and of course North Korea, being quite isolated in the world, to say nothing of this particular part of the world, East Asia, is a major motive behind its actions, its behavior, and of course the whole acquisition of nuclear weapons in the first place. So what do we know about the nuclear weapons program? Well, we know that North Korea started developing a bomb in the 1980s, opening up secret facilities for uranium enrichment and plutonium separation at the Yongbyon reactor. Now, North Korea did ratify the Non-Proliferation Treaty in 1985, but it never concluded a safeguards agreement until 1992. So critically, there were no safeguards or inspections regimes in place to monitor nuclear program development in North Korea in that period. And of course, that turned out to be very important. Here's a chart just showing the state of North Korea's nuclear facilities. North Korea does have a complete nuclear cycle, so that's something that we need to remember. It has uranium, so again possesses that very important rare earth element. It has uranium enrichment facilities, it has reprocessing facilities, and it has reactors, both light water and gas graphite reactors. And there's a number of facilities across the country, as you can see. And so this is the infrastructure that has enabled North Korea to acquire a nuclear weapon. One of the focal points of that effort is the Yongbyon reactor, and that's located right here. And this is just a photograph of the Yongbyon reactor. I know it doesn't look like much. It's, old building, old design, but the political significance of this facility is enormous. Not only is it constantly mentioned as a focal point of the nuclear and nuclear weapons program in North Korea, it's also quite clear that this is where most of the early research and much of the development of the bomb took place. Well, what else do we know? We know that an International Atomic Energy Agency inspection team did visit North Korea in 1993. In 1993, North Korea did conclude a safeguards and inspection agreement with the IAEA. I think North Korea thought that the IAEA inspectors wouldn't find anything. I think they thought they had covered their tracks. But in fact, what happened is the inspection team found evidence that more plutonium had been developed than had been declared by North Korea. Something was going on. The accounting didn't add up. So, after a series of negotiations, North Korea did agree to the 1994 Framework Agreement, which resulted in North Korea admitting the existence of a bomb program and agreeing to dismantle it. In return, North Korea would receive 2 light water reactors, and these reactors would be used for energy generation purposes. North Korea notoriously often falls short of energy during critical times of the year, and so this was seen as a major carrot, if you like, for North Korea in return for its admitting the existence of a bomb program and then agreeing to dismantle it. However, by 2002, the Framework Agreement collapsed, and it collapsed because of evidence that North Korea was not abiding by the principles of the agreement. In particular, subsequent efforts by North Korea to acquire nuclear weapons technology and to participate in a clandestine global trade in that technology were revealed. One incident, Pakistan admitted that North Korea had gained access to its nuclear technology. And in another incident, a uranium hexafluoride shipment from North Korea to Libya was clear evidence of an undeclared uranium enrichment capability in North Korea. So essentially, North Korea was found out, and by 2002, the Framework Agreement had fallen apart. We also know that in 2003, North Korea withdrew from the NPT, and with it withdrew from any of the safeguards or inspections protocols that are part of the NPT. That triggered a new round of negotiations. Between 2003 and 2009, a negotiating forum known as the Six-Party Talks was activated, and that included the Republic of Korea, so that's South Korea, the United States, the People's Republic of China, Russia, Japan, and North Korea, the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. And the whole effort of the Six-Party Talks was to reach agreement on North Korea's nuclear program, particularly to end it and to dismantle it. Now, the symbolism, of course, of the Six-Party Talks is important and it's crucial, and it's a big part of any dealings with North Korea, really. Even the shape of the table was an issue. This was the table, and this is where the countries in the Six-Party Talks actually sat, their representatives sat at the table. And you can see here North Korea, and the whole idea is North Korea insisted that it be seen as an equal in the talks, that it wasn't some kind of victim, it wasn't isolated, it wasn't somehow less important, it was equal to all the other participants around the table. And so they agreed finally that the table wouldn't be square, it wouldn't be round, it wouldn't be rectangular, it had to be an octagon. 8 sides, 8 equal length sides. And this is just part of sort of the notorious diplomatic tangle and the significance of symbolism and the acute sensitivities of the North Korean regime to its place and role in the world. What else do we know? Well, we know, of course, in 2006, North Korea conducted its first test. We know that in 2009, North Korea conducted its second test and then withdrew from the Six-Party Talks. We know that in 2012, North Korea again agreed to suspend uranium enrichment and nuclear weapons and missile tests in return for food aid. And this was another period in which North Korea was suffering from acute food shortages, which are quite common, particularly in rural areas in North Korea. However, even this agreement collapsed in April of that year when North Korea tested a long-range missile. So by the end of 2012, we have this growing crisis. There's a fear that North Korea could develop a large nuclear arsenal. There's a fear it could develop missiles capable of delivering warheads over longer and longer ranges, including possibly even to North America itself. There was a lot of uncertainty over the state of the North Korean nuclear program. There was very little information, and of course no means of verification. And all the sanctions that had been placed on North Korea throughout this period didn't really seem to be changing the North Korean government's position. And that began to create voices calling for military strikes against North Korea. So, by now, you should be familiar with the structure, the design of the North Korean nuclear fuel cycle, and you should be familiar with the diplomatic history of the North Korean nuclear program. Okay, so this whole question of North Korea's capabilities is obviously very important because that technical capacity is there. They have a nuclear cycle, a complete nuclear cycle, and obviously they have successfully tested nuclear weapons. And so the genie is out of the bottle, if you like. I think the second big point here is that the cycle, the pattern of behavior, agreement and then talks break down, agreements are violated, is a persistent pattern in North Korean behavior. So trust has been extremely difficult as a result. I hope you enjoyed this video. We'll see you again soon.